Hello everyone, this is second video of Hydra book reading club. I don't know, I named it that way. Basically the idea is that I'm gonna go through Hydra book, which I wrote some years ago, and just to refresh my mind, and also I think it makes sense to talk through some of the things because I try to write as much as I can, but some things are not really clear, or it's easier to see it together. Although it has live examples in the page, which we will see in a bit. And again, just as a housekeeping, I think it's, if you're like really new to Hydra, I really recommend you to go through the beginner's tutorial that I published earlier this year. And it consists of, I think, like 11 videos. So I really recommend to go through that, because in this series I will go like really into details of the functions or combination of functions, some ideas to like the ideas to break your habit. The way I started writing this book was to break my habit of like using Hydra, because I think some of you have this experience that you always end up with something like similar to what you did before. So I was thinking like, okay, how can I change it? What's like not just about the combination of the functions, but how can I understand it deeply so that I can discover something new? And it turned out to be that way. So that's the idea. So it may be like really simple examples we're going to look into. And in the first video, it was like maybe too simple. So I'll try to like improvise a little bit. That may be also interesting, so that it adds to Hydra book, and also like that process. I can share my process. Your process is different, but I hope that you learn something from it, or maybe you learn that it's not your process. Anyways, so let's go to Hydra book, and I'm gonna make myself small. So we're gonna play like continuing from the geometry that we did last time, and there is this little button here at the bottom left. If you click, then it will make the sidebar disappear. And we played with like this kind of cryptic ways of making this alternating patterns. We looked into like this repeat function that actually there is like third and fourth parameter that's like doing some magic in this case. Actually, there's this little thing that I didn't do, is this the last example of this sequence of like alternating patterns, and I want to like show you because it's kind of funny. So what we did was like, I don't know, like something like this, and the repeat 4 4 out. It makes something like this, and just for a visual, like to have it pleasing, I will scale it by 1 1 width divided by height. Is it right? Okay, so now we see the grid in a prettier way, something like this. And what we wanted is like, this is not alternating, this is like on like snap to the grid. So we saw that there's a third parameter, a repeat function, and it will make like this, but then it's actually not like alternating, but it's kind of, you see like a hexagon if you see around this pick one square. It's not like, in this case you have 4 squares around it, but in my case there are like actually 6 around it. Is it actually a hexagon? Maybe it's not, it's a bit stretched. So anyways, but my point is that I want to like figure out a little bit, and I think there was like this like scaling trick that makes it not this way, maybe it's this way, not really. I think it was right, I did it right, but then I have to repeat it less on this side. No. So like what I do is like always like just trial and error, which is like sometimes good, sometimes not, but sometimes you have to like go back to math and understand what is happening, or math, or like you maybe like want to break down the functions and just put out here instead of like repeat, and understand what is happening. But I know that this kind of works because it's in the Hydra book. So I was just guessing with the parameters. But anyways, you see that this kind of works. And of course, if you want this circles, not instead of squares, then you can make it shape 999, for example, to make it a circle, and you can make it this polka dot. But actually, what it's saying here is that you don't have to make it super complicated, because if you do repeat, like how we started, like this, and not even this, is it? I think so. And then, in only the case of circles, you can just like rotate it. Math.pi divided by 4, which is 45 degrees, is it? I think. And then you have this pattern actually. So you don't have to like over-engineer. Sometimes there are like different pathways to make the same, or mostly almost the same result. In this case, the circle's a little bit small, so maybe I want like 0.75 to fill it a little bit more. Yeah, and if you want to make it, bring it back to like square, that's also a different pattern. I mean, we're just rotating it, right? But perceptually, it's very different. So sometimes this is fun. And I didn't really explain this color trick I was doing, but for example, like if you want to color it, this is beyond, you know, like the geometry topic. This is about color, and I think I talked about this in the color page in Hydra book. I kind of like isolate them, which makes it, I hope that it was easier to read, but it's kind of like boring because then in this geometry, well, actually the next one is color, but mostly they're like black and white. So we saw this color function in the very beginning of the beginner's tutorial. And for example, you might do like 100 to make it red, but it's red, but then the black part is still black. And like there's like a really easy trick that I did last time was like to introduce -1, like negative number, which will affect also the black part, and you can make kind of contrasting color very easily. And if this is too much, if this is like, you know, too harsh, you may want to adjust it later with hue function, for example. Well, it's still quite, I mean, the contrast won't change in a way that is, you know, they're like opposing, you know, complementing color. I don't know what contrary color, what it's called, I forgot. But still, you can explore the color spectrum, and maybe you find something nice, or maybe not, I don't know. But because if there is black, like if you have, for example, this, and then if you do hue, it won't change the black part, right? It will change this colored part, the white part, but it will not change the black part. So, well, I did -1 here, but maybe -1 here. That makes, well, this is quite, I don't know if this is pretty, but, you know, you can play with the color. And again, you know, in this example, you can change the size of the shape, and then you can really explore different patterns. Like, it's really simple idea. I mean, it's not a simple code to understand, but it's a simple idea, and you can actually go like quite, you know, deep into the rabbit hole with this combination of shape, repeat, rotate, and so on. So that's what I wanted to say here. I don't know if I want to like go through this one, but maybe there are like interesting ideas in here. So what is this? Like, this is like basically I was trying to make some kind of like LCD or LED. No, LED can be colored. Anyways, like LCD, like screen, like normally what happens is that it has, you know, tiny bit of red, green, blue, like next to each other as one pixel. But like perceptually, you see it like blended. So this is like exaggerating the effect. But if you see, well, LED screens, maybe they're different, but like more like old school screens that, you know, like if you magnify it, you know, as a child, you played with this, right? I mean, I don't know what generation you're from. I think we've seen it. Or like, you know, if you have like raindrop on your phone, maybe like you saw this kind of thing before, that kind of shifts the color or isolates the color or whatever. So this is like example that I played with. It's a little bit like daunting. It has this, like I said about this, you know, like using the function as a variable to make it like a more like a macro. But maybe I can like go a little bit like a simple example of this, like not necessarily like this, but maybe like, I don't know, like color shifting is kind of interesting topic, which is again not about geometry, it's about color, but it's kind of a combination. What I want to say is maybe I can like even start with this. So I have this example, and what if I want to like, this is like a kind of kitschy like VFX kind of filter, I would say, that you know you have this like red, blue, red, green, blue, like separated in a way, and you know if you do it for properly, like chromatic aberration or something, like you make it around the screen a little bit different effect, like stretched out. Let's see what I wanted to say. So basically, the idea is that in this example I used the function as a variable, but basically you wanted to like have three like same function, and they each have color function to it, but one is responsible, the first one is responsible for red channel, the next one is responsible for green channel, and last one is for blue channel. And I can't just evaluate like this, so I have to, like, for example, add them together. Don't forget the closing parenthesis. And maybe just like leave this scale thing out for now and just put it out. So what's going to happen is very not exciting, because they're just like, I'm separating red, green, blue into like 3 lines, but they're like added exactly the same, so you won't see any difference. I mean it's different because I omitted shape, the scale, so you see it differently. But you know, where we started off is like this just one function without color, without add. It's like this, or maybe for simplicity I will add scale here to like for visual simplicity. And then we go back to this where we wanted to evaluate. It's the same again. It's, you know, I'm separating the colors and adding them together. But what I can do is, for example, like one is to add this kind of complex filter to like mask it out and not, which I could also do, but other way to like play with this is like just scroll X. So let's say like green channel goes a little bit, or maybe green channel stays middle. I want the red channel goes a little bit to the, I don't know if it's left or right, I forgot, always forget. Let's slightly move it. And I do the same with, not here, it's here, inside, add. The blue channel goes to the other direction. And if you evaluate this, you see that this is like kind of, like you've seen this effect, right? I'm pretty sure, like, you know, just separating these like red, green, blue, like slightly, I mean, slightly like offset. And maybe this is a bit too much, so you can like play with this. Like, it's very subtle, but it's quite fun. The only, how do I say, the downside of like this way of writing is that if you want, okay, actually I want this shape to be a circle, then you have to do it 3 times and you will make mistake. And I forget, and then like, this is actually quite interesting as well. But, okay, like, is there other way? Well, the one is to make it into a macro, but another way actually is that I didn't really explore much in the tutorial series, but I did explain that you can output it into a separate texture or buffer, which is, for example, O1. Like by default, we use O0, right? But if you do it to O1 with the default setting, with the render default setting, it will not show like anything. It will not affect. Unless you do like render O1, then you will see what is this is drawing. Then I will go back to O0, which is the default. And now what we can do is we can use this O1 as a source, just like how we played with, well, feedback or like webcam. Webcam is like S0, S1, and so on. But You can do it like this way, and basically you replace these lengthy, oh, so lengthy, but these ones with 01. So it doesn't change anything. Maybe it's a little bit more pixelated because of, rendering to this, rendering to that, but let's just ignore that. Now, the good thing is, now all these functions are concentrated in this first line, which says 01. And what we can do is, if you want to make it in a circle, then just change it here. And you don't even have to, evaluate everything. It will just, evaluating this line, this chunk of the code can affect the rest of the code because it's not dependent anymore. It's just taking this buffer, whatever buffer is rendering, I'll just take it. And, for example, if I want to scroll X and make a movement, it's not wrapping around completely, so it's a little bit, there's a funny artifact, but you get the idea that 01 is moving, and whatever 01 is doing, 00 will just take 01 and separate into colors. So now it's more like a kind of pipeline we're making that, well, this is really different from the article, but basically the idea is that it's the same here, that instead of using the buffers, we're using this function as a kind of macro, and we're building up this pipeline. So I'm isolating this drawing part, so I can even change this completely. I want OSC, and it still works. I mean, it maybe OSC thresh, so that you can see this color shift quite clearly. And now it's not, this second chunk of text is not dependent in a way that it's well, it's dependent, but you can do whatever on 01 that will be actually nice on 00, because you just have to change this part. If you want to make it into Voronoi, that's also fine. Well, actually this is kind of cool. That's nice, actually. I like it. So this is super easy trick that you can isolate chunk of code here and there, and then you can work separately. And now I'm feeling okay, maybe I want to do proper chromatic whatever effect. And how does it work actually? Chromatic aberration. So the way it works, let's go to Wikipedia, and you see here that actually there are different artifacts, but I think around oh, is it further from the center is more shifted color wise? Probably center has less artifacts, or is it not? But let's assume that. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comment. And let's try to do this, and it may be this video will be only about that. If you expected more, then I'm sorry, but I think it's nice to take time to code and explore. So let's just try it. How do I do this? There's one trick that I should talk in geometry, but maybe it was in the modulate section, that if you want some kind of not fisheye, but kind of distortion around further from the center of the image, you can play with modulate scale, for example, or modulate itself might work also. So let's see, I don't want to scroll X anymore. I want to do modulate, and I use this trick. Okay, so maybe this is worth explaining. So shape 99 out. Now we're familiar with this, right? It's a circle. Well, we assume that this is a circle in a non-stretched canvas. And we know that the second parameter can change the size. And this one, the last one, the parameter that I kind of almost hated in this, almost I always put 0 and make sharp edge. But you can also make softer edge. And you can actually go even more ambitious. So let's say no size 0, which doesn't seem like a good idea. Maybe it's no circle, but actually the blurriness kind of overrides it. So if you say quite ambitious with the blurriness, then you can have this kind of blurry, like almost like Gaussian kind of circle, like blob or whatever, shade, whatever thing, however you see it. But you see this like kind of cloud, which is super nice, or like even like one, and it's almost like filling the whole space with this. And why is it useful? Basically, like I want to use this as a modulating function or modulator function. So something like this. And, oh, okay. So the only problem with this is that now the center of the image is more shifted, and around the, close to the border of the image, it doesn't get shifted because it's almost like black. So I just want to like invert this. And what happens is that you can see like this red shift like more on the, boundary. I might just do the same, and maybe it's exaggerated. Let's just keep it exaggerated. And I will do the same with like replacing this scroll X of the blue channel. I just copy and paste it. Maybe I just keep the convention. So it was like, maybe I change it later, but modulate default parameter is 0.1. And here I want to say, be careful with the closing parenthesis instead of 0.1, because then it's going to be the same effect as red, which maybe I can just try it first. Now, we see the different color because we're treating red and blue the same, so they're kind of blended, added together, and they become cyan? No, magenta. So, sorry, I'm really bad with the CMYK. No, anyways. Okay, so this is kind of like not what I wanted, so I can just say minus 0.1, then, these colors are shifted. This is fun. Maybe it's a little bit too exaggerated. I might want like 0.03 for each channel. It's still quite exaggerated, but you see the idea that close to the center you don't see, or maybe like I can go back to like OSC thresh. Oh, well, that's kind of very wild, but this is actually like exaggerating. Well, it's really exaggerated, but you see that at the center of the image, the shift is like very subtle, but close to the border, it's actually quite wild. I think I can like even like minimize it to like 0.01 or something. And also like if you feel like, you want to play with kind of this curve, so you have like harsher effect at the border, maybe you can even like play with like thresh, just like how I was playing with like this blurriness of shape. Thresh can be also used to like how I'm seeing the thresh with this OSC here is that 0.5, and like default is 0.0 something, but if you do this, then you get the sharp edge. But if you make it like 0.5 comma 0.3, for example, then this becomes quite blurry. And actually I think this is quite nice, actually. Or even without thresh, what does it do? Maybe not, I don't like this so much, but this, I think it's quite interesting. I like this. So what if I do the same with the inverted blurry shape? What does it do? Not so much difference. Maybe like 0.1. Yeah, now you see like this, you see actually like almost like see the circle here, which I don't know if I wanted this effect or not. Maybe I'll take this thresh out for a second, but the idea is that, playing with like shape, like this blurry circle and invert, and using as a modulator for red channel, using as a modulator for blue channel, but with, inverted modulating parameter or whatever, that makes this RGB shift that's like almost like close to like what they talk here. I mean, maybe the color space is a little bit different, so you see this purple here instead of like RGB. But you can, this is like a tool, I could also make a challenge, coding challenge video to make it exactly like this effect. Well, not exactly, but inspired by this. But the idea is that, I want to like give you pointers where you can like play with it, and like this exact code, you can just like copy it, and you can start using it, if you want to play with only like this part, right? Like that's nice, like beauty of this separating chunks of code into like one buffer and another buffer, or you can use the macro. Maybe I can, like, to wrap up the video, I can do the same thing with this idea of like macro. So I don't know what's a good name for a function. Let's say f equals. So instead of like I put directly to O1 and then pick it up here, I use it as a, like, declare as a function. Like you can say like var, but I don't say it in the editor, just for the conciseness. And you cannot do this way. If you're just doing it calling it once, it's fine. But so you can maybe do it like this. But the way it works in Hydra is that you make it into an arrow function so that you can call it again and again and again. It doesn't cause problem. If you do it this way, I think it will cause some problems. So you do it this way and you call it like this. So it's almost like you're making a new Hydra function. And I think it's nice syntax, because this here is a little bit awkward, but once you declare it, you can use it f, parentheses, and you can even make some parameters in here. So that's even more cryptic, but then a, or I don't know, yeah, let's just say a, it doesn't conflict. So if you want to like have to use this here, so I don't know, instead of like OSC 60, I want OSC 30 like this. Just like, Hydra function, you can use it this way. And I will do the same with, so instead of source 01, I will use this one now, source 01, replace it with this. And I guess that's it. So if I evaluate this, it works, because now F30 is like replaced, like essentially by this OSC 30, the thresh, 3 times, and it just works. And now it's not using O1 anymore. If you feel this is kind of not, against the idea of like, okay, we wanted to like avoid repeating the same functions, but now are we like, why are we like repeating 30? Maybe this is nicer. You can always, hard code like this, or you can like use the default argument like this is also possible. It depends, like for Hydra, like live coding on the spot, maybe this is getting a bit too much, like over engineering. Now actually I want only the red channel to be like different. Okay, this is actually quite interesting. So, maybe this is something you want to explore. But anyways, what I want to say is like, it's basically essentially like JavaScript. So you can do like this kind of funny things, but also you can keep it very simple like this, or like as simple as, going back to output this to O1, and then you replace f with source O1. That's your choice. It really, like, there are like pros and cons. I personally recommend, I actually don't know, depends on the situation. But for example, like we've seen that what was that shape for repeat for 4 rotate math by divided by 4. That was this like mixing up the syntax now. So I did something like, so now this is like, why is it shifting? Oh, interesting. Okay, now I understand something. But anyways, I'm not going to go into that. So the thing is that now it's actually not shifting to the x direction, but it's like shifting diagonally because of how modulate works with colors. But I'm not going to be like picky for now. Something we notice here is that I think if we decide to make it like sharp edge, it starts like really like pixelate and it makes like really, no, it doesn't do it so much in this case. You see a little bit of like weird artifacts here, but that's something we cannot avoid, or maybe we can just avoid by adding a little bit like blurry edge to it. But the problem with what we've seen in using O1 is that, okay, so if this is the case, I want to do O1 as a source instead of F function. I replace them here. Now you can see this edge became like a little bit more pixelated, and it's getting a little bit disturbing for some people like me. The reason why is that the only problem with this like drawing to O1 and recycling it with O0 is because of this like extra step of like drawing to O1 and then sampling O1 and using it O0, the color might degrade. And this is like really becomes a big problem if we start to use colors that are outside 0 to 1, which is, for example, like noise. Noise is a little bit of a problematic one that, okay, so maybe this is okay in this case, but if I put it back, I'm going back and forth between these different syntax, but if I do it this way, I mean, in this case, it's kind of silly because I'm just like replacing noise function with F notation. But then if I do this, okay, this doesn't change, but something I noticed is that in this exact case, it's the same, but noise output from minus number to negative number to positive number, and if once it's like drawn onto separate buffer, the negative part will be gone, and this kind of weird thing happens. I can like exaggerate it, I think, but that's like really like a nerdy topic, right? So that it's not so important if you're like exploring like different expressions. But is this actually maybe like this one? Okay, so in this case it's like this, and if I put it into out O1 and recycle it, I don't know why I say recycling, but it feels like like you're like recycling different buffers, textures that are left off. Okay, let's see what's gonna happen. Oh, it doesn't change, so maybe I was wrong. But anyways, there are some small differences, like we saw this like pixelated effect, like artifacts and so on. So one is like your coding style, which works better, and another one is like if you want to make like high res image that you want to create with Hydra, which is of course it's possible, but sometimes you have to choose the right syntax, otherwise like you end up with weird artifacts and so on. So it's always good to know like these different pathways to reach almost the same results, and if you feel like, okay, maybe this is like causing one, like this one way of writing code is causing issue, maybe you can try another way and it might fix it, it might not. And if you feel like you need help from other people, I recommend writing to the Facebook group, Discord group, or to the comment down below, which it might take a bit more time compared to other groups, but just send whatever questions or comments, feedback to this video or what you want to see in the next videos. I really appreciate it. I check all the comments. So yeah, that's it for now, and I think I didn't really progress much. I just progressed for like two things. But this next Kaleido is a really exciting one that I always don't know what is happening, but we'll try to decipher it in the next video. So by that time, I wish you have happy coding. Bye.